And this week is all about productivity. So how to get great things done versus a ton of crappy things. Not even just trivia, crappy things. So we're going to share 10 big ideas to help you work smarter. And actually, I was sort of like prepping for today, and I was thinking, you know what, there's still some stuff, like none of us ever get great at this. So, you know, we all learn. And as I was going through and I was thinking, yeah, actually, I need to go back to some of this. So like, none of us are perfect and we're not pretending to be. So for those of you who know us, I'm Tony, this is Ian, and we are co-founders of Expert Growth. We specialise in helping small business owners to scale from 6 to 7 figures and above. And we have both been doing that for very many years, which is why we've both got white hair. So today is, like I say, how to get a ton of great things done rather than trivial things, and helping you prioritise what matters most. And as we always say, there is repetition in here, but it's deliberate because you have to keep going back to these things. As I said, none of us ever become brilliant at this. If you've been here before, you know the crack. Stick your details in the chat. Tell us who you are, where you're from, introduce yourself, and why are you on today's session? Really be good to hear that. But I'm going to dive straight into big idea number one, which is all about your number one great thing. So what is that? Again, drop it in the chat. We'd love to know, what is it that you really, really want to be doing? And, you know, some great thinkers on this subject call this your wildly important goal, your WIG. And if you want to escape the whirlwind of trivial things, then you need to get clear on exactly is what you really, really want to do. And then prioritize. So what is your wildly important goal? Is it in a year's time? Is it 2 years? Is it 5 years? Is it even 10 years' time? This class is not about getting a ton of rubbish things done. It's about getting the right things done, getting focused and doing the right things. But in order to do that, we really do need to take that step back and think about, well, okay, what is my number one thing that I really want to achieve? What is really, really important to me now? And step back and think about that question. So some of you might want to go back to Goals 101 or Purpose 101 to do this, that they were our sort of first 2 weeks of this best year ever. But, you know, really think about, how do I, you know, do I want to break a world record? Do I want to, you know, do a marathon for the first time in my life? Do I want to go skiing for the first time in my life at the age of 55? Do you want to break your records in your business? Do you want to start something and achieve something that you've actually never done in your business, but this year is going to be the year? Whatever it is, you know, these next ideas are going to really help you to focus on that. But if you don't have this dialed in, it's going to be really hard to, you know, do the rest. So we have a personal goal or a goal in the business, and that is to get 30 members this year, and to help 1,000 businesses to achieve their growth, to get out of the weeds, to start working on their business, and to work on the things that they want to achieve in their life. So what is that for you? And how are you going to prioritize that? What is it that you really, really want to do that's really worthy of you as well? So we want that goal to be a little bit stretching and challenging. But before you do that, we want to make sure that we've got our ladder on the right wall. You know, we don't want to be great at climbing the ladder and get to the top of the wall and realise we're actually on the top of the wrong place. And, you know, we want to make sure that if we get great at going in the direction and doing the right things, that we are going in the right direction. You know, we don't want to be really great and take steps in the wrong direction. So clarity on your number one thing is really, really important. And as the Russians tell us, now I always used to think this was a Chinese proverb, but it is actually a Russian proverb that says, you know, chase 2 rabbits and you catch none. And it's the rule of 80%. So if we try and go after one thing, we're probably 80% likely to get close to it. But if we make that into 2 things, then there's a rule that says it's 80 times 80%, which for the non-mathematicians amongst us, that actually comes out at 64%. So you do one more thing, you only hit those 2 things, 64% likely. If you add another thing, it's 80 times 80 times 80, and that's barely scratching the surface of 50% likely of achieving it. So we really want to make sure that we decide to go after one thing and try not to drive ourselves nuts chasing 2 or 3 or 20 rabbits around and actually catching none of them and getting nowhere. You know, and I know what that's like to do. So what is your focus? What's your one thing? Share it in the chat if you want to, and we're going to now give you some tools to help you get that one thing done.
Okay, thanks, Tony. Okay, right, idea number 2 is the psychology of utter commitment. Now, I always think of something like this. This isn't just about committing yourself to a business or a project in business. It could be anything to do with your personal life. It might well be that, right, okay, it's January the 1st. I'm going to get fit this year. Okay, it might be, oh, I'm going to do a gardening project. The bottom line is, whatever you do, something like this, you've got to have commitment. Otherwise, you're not going to achieve really what you want to achieve. And when we talk about commitment, there's 3 things really. Number 1, it's all about clarity. Number 2, you need to be going all in. As Tony said, you know, it's no good being 10, 15, 20%. You've got to be in it as high as you can. And the 3rd thing is courage. Now, in the context of talking about your number one thing, you need to be fired up. It's all about when we talk about these deep work sessions where you've got a project to do and you think, right, okay, I'm going to set aside from 9 till 11:30 or 9 to 11 to get this done. That's all about your commitment and just really being fired up for what you want, what you've got to achieve. And you know, we talk about commitments. It doesn't necessarily mean it's a long-term commitment. It can be just a short-term commitment for that day. So it's really getting a high level of commitment and really what they call psychological investment into that commitment. Now, there's a guy called W.H. Murray, who was a Scottish Himalayan, well, not a Scottish Himalayan, what am I saying? He was Scottish. We'll start off like that, shall we? And he did an expedition to the Himalayas, right? There's no such thing as Scottish Himalayas. And he said that really, if you're not committed, there's going to be a hesitancy. And, you know, you'll draw back. So it's a matter really of commitment really goes with confidence and what we talked about, really going all in on that. So he used to say that concerning all acts of initiative and creation, there's one elementary truth, and that's the ignorance of which kills countless ideas and splendid plans. So the moment you're going to commit to that, you've just got to move forward on it positively. So, you know, whatever you can do or dream you can do, you've got to begin it with boldness and commitment. And there's a guy that we've talked about also on these sessions called Phil Stutz, and he talks about psychology of utter commitment. And a phrase that he said is about truly going all in and just making sure that you pass those tests, those personal tests that you're setting yourselves to be committed to what you want to achieve. And then we talk about clarity. I mean, the clarity around what you're looking to do. Are you willing to pay the price on that? What does it take? What courage do I need to ensure that I'm committed and I know that clarity around what I want to achieve. And he says that I'll read this out. It says the challenge is at the point when you decide to go all in, you need to be willing to make trade-offs. And he says you don't, you're going to die at the crossroads. So we just need to understand really what we're trading off to achieve, what we want to achieve. So really that's the psychology of utter commitment. It's just making sure that we've got clarity around it, we're going all in, and we've got the courage to achieve what we want to achieve. And as I say, this doesn't just apply to business, it can apply to anything you want to achieve in your life. That's number 2.
Number 2 and number 3. So those first 2 and this one is, comes from the psychology of success, really. And this idea is world champion training camps, infernos, forging swords versus sporks. And it comes from the work of lots of psychologists who say, like, if we want to be highly motivated, we need to show up with the mindset of a world champion, and like we're in a world champion training camp. So, what is it that you want to achieve? And then how do you show up? How do you actually turn up the heat on your training, your approach, your mindset, as if you're in a world champion training camp? So the guy is called Josh Waitland, and he's one of the world's experts on learning and mastery. He was actually a child prodigy and an amazing chess player. He was a master at a really young age, and then he was world champion. And then he switched genres, and he actually went into martial arts, and he became a martial arts world champion in Tai Chi, and he became a master of that. And he now works with people as a coach. And if you look on his website, it says, do not even apply to work with me unless you are going to show up like you are training to be a world champion in whatever you want to do. And then it's absolutely gazillions of pounds to work with him, and he's not taking any clients at the moment. But that's how he says, if you really have the desire and the passion to turn up and do something, then we need to show up. We need to turn up the heat on it. And this is where we want to think about our standards. Now, in a couple of masterclasses before, we've talked about activation energy, like the heat at which you can activate your energy and turn it into something. So like if you're trying to boil water, it's something like 212 degrees. If you're trying to start a fire, it's like 451 degrees. Like you can't get to 210 degrees or 450 degrees and actually boil water or start a fire. It won't happen. The activation energy is not there. So what is it that we need to do? And I'm thinking, if you want to do heroic things, then we probably need a sword, to get rid of all those things that are getting in our way. So I looked up, what is it that you need to activate the energy to make a sword? And it's 1500 to 1800 degrees. So like we're actually taking it to another level, like how fired up are you about the thing that you want to do? And versus that of a spork. Does everyone know what a spork is? It's like a spoon fork. You all know, Pam. I know you all know. It's a spoon fork, but actually the energy on that is higher than water. It's higher than fire. It's 500 degrees, but it's still not as dialed in as a sword. So like, where is your level? And it doesn't really matter where it is. But like, have you got the energy to show up, to activate that energy every day. So we're not going to feel like it every day. You know, we won't always feel 100%, but no matter how bad we feel, we need to still show up and go after what it is that we want to do. And we need to have that energy to do the things that we need to do, the things that we need to focus on doing. So how do you structure your days so that, you know, you are in a world-class training camp? So anyone that knows me, and I've mentioned this before on these classes, you know, for me, it is about that energy. How do I create that energy? So for me, every day I show up and I wake up and I do the same things every day to work on my energy. So that's about eating, moving, sleeping. It's about doing things that keep me energized so that I can show up and do what I need to do. So what are those things for you? You know, what is the standard that you're going to set and keep at it no matter what is going on? So, but in the process of actually training, you know, the little things that we do every day, we're actually improving ourselves, you know, so we really, really do. If you do the training and you put the work in, then we actually will improve ourselves anyway. So automatically by showing up like that. So how are you going to approach your number one thing? You know, what is it that you are going to do that's going to help you elevate your standards and, you know, potentially to the world-class training camp arena? Anyone got any ideas? You want to share them in the chat? I'm kind of trying to keep an eye on the track on my own. So, hi Iris, good, great to introduce yourself. Thanks for that. Zena, you said right now it's simply getting the words together for your website. Yeah, absolutely. But if you were a world-class training camp, what would you be doing to make sure you get that on? And Ian's then saying, sorry, it's got to go. So yeah, what is it that you could do every day to make sure that you're showing up like the champion and you're putting the training in? It's the training, it's what we do every day that helps us do this. So big idea number 4 then is all about our energy management. So I met up, you know, we said about that activation energy. How do you manage that energy? How do you get your fundamentals dialed in? So I probably mention fundamentals in everything I do, every class I do, every program I do, because it's so important. You know, if you want to see how high they're building a building, you look at the depth of the foundations. And our fundamentals are eating, moving, sleeping, breathing, and focusing. Okay. And if we can't sort that out, then we're never going to be able to have the energy that we need to do what we're doing in the right way and to focus on being productive. Being productive is about energy management, not time management. Okay. And that's probably one of the biggest mistakes people make, is managing their time, not their energy, to then manage their days. And I'll go on to a bit more about that as well. So if you think about your energy, what are the things that you could be doing to dial that in, to make that so that you can start with managing your energy and you can show up each day and you do a little bit? And actually with this, again, the big mistake people make is they think that they need to add something in to do this. And actually, we are much more effective at taking something out that's not working. So, you know, in your fundamentals, what is it that's not working? Eating, moving, sleeping. What is it that you put first as your sort of core thing that helps you maintain your energy? So for me, that is about sleeping. If I don't get my sleep, oh my God, I turn up as bad day Tony, number 1. But number 2 is I really find it hard to focus, and I find it hard to get, you know, to get moving, to do the things I need to do to maintain my energy. So I prioritize my sleep. But so like, what is that number 1 thing for you? What could you do to take something away that's not working for you in that, rather than try and add something in? So rather than say, oh, actually, I need to do more exercise, actually you could do less of something else, and that's easier to do and easier to maintain. And then we talk about what making waves. So we can be deeply on, and again, I'll talk about that in a bit more detail in one of the other big ideas, but we want to be deeply on and then deeply off. And we want to be able to manage our downtime as much as we manage our on time, because it's the oscillation of doing something really deeply and then stopping and allowing yourself to recover that enables you to do much more than you could ever do before. So there are sort of 3 rhythms, or I suggest there might be 4 rhythms that we might want to think about and making waves in these 4 areas. So one's circadian, so it's like the rhythm of the day, the circle of the day, sunrise, sunset. What are you doing during that time to make the most of those hours? Then you have ultradian rhythms, which is an ultra means more than a day. So more times in a day, you've got these waves. Are you on? Are you off? Are you deep work? Are you recovering? And that's like every 50 to 90 minutes, there's a natural rhythm that we can get into. But what we tend to do is most of us never really go deep work, you know, as hard and focused as we could. And then a lot of us don't ever give ourselves time to recover. So we'll try and just carry on ploughing in. And this can be my go-to, is I'll keep ploughing, I'll keep ploughing, I'll keep ploughing. But actually, you're never really doing deep work like that. And you're never recovering. And actually, it's the recovery that's important. We don't do enough recovery. So then we have our macrodian, and that's a word I've made up. So it's big picture, okay? So what's your number one thing that you're going to do in the next year? What's the number one thing that therefore you need to work on in the next 90 days, the next month, the next week? Having plans, taking a step back to go, actually, this is what I need to work on, and making sure that we're actually honouring that rhythm of, you know, a day, the micro moments in a day, which is why I have a timer when I'm not delivering, and I'm actually doing every 1,000 seconds, I'm doing something to move about, so keeping my movement going. So what are those things for you? So to manage your energy before you start managing your time. And then this brings you on to managing your time. So what are the things that we want to be managing our time for around? And again, the guy that did a lot of work on this around time management was Peter Drucker. He's like the grandfather of time management and management. And he says, first things first, and second things, not at all. So, you know, if you've got a to-do list, then get rid of most of the things on there, because if you're not doing the things that are actually taking you in the direction of your number one important goal, then don't do them. You only need to do the things that are going to take you in the right direction. And as I said earlier, it's not that we don't work too hard, it's we don't recover enough. So he talks about tracking your time. All right. So first of all, we manage our energy. Then we track our time. We don't go straight into managing our time. Big mistake if you start going, first of all, right, I'm going to block out all this time in my diary. And actually, you're still doing things that are not appropriate. So if you track your time for, I don't know, a day or 3 days or a week, and see what you're actually doing with your time, you will start to see that you're not doing first things first. And you will be able to then manage your time. You'll be able to say, okay, what is it that I should be doing in these bits of the day? And then once you've got that, you can then consolidate. And then that is about the really getting into the rhythms, these 90-minute rhythms. And if you do 4 of those, 90 minutes full on what's important now, first things first, then you give yourself, you know, 20 minutes, half an hour off, another 90 minutes, 20 minutes, half an hour off, another 90 minutes. That is 4.5 hours. And you will be able to do an amazing amount of work in 4.5 hours a day. Plus give yourself time off, plus give yourself a bit more, recovery, and you will achieve so much more than you have ever achieved before. So have a practice with that. Even if it's just one 90-minute block in a day, what is it that you could be doing on that? Then big idea number 6 is about focus. Is can we focus and give intensity to our work and do so consistently? So we've got our rhythms there, you're on, then you're off, you're on, then you're off. But with that is, can you give it an intensity of focus so that you're just looking at one thing? Now, many of us, particularly women, think we can multitask. We can't. All we do is task switch. And what that does is it creates residue in our mind, which means that we are then not able to focus in the way that you could focus if you just focused. So what do you do with that? How do you train your focus? Well, one is trying to focus. You might start with 12 minutes. You might then do half an hour and build up to 90 minutes. You might also, thinking about the world class or the world champion training camp, is meditation is a really great way of learning to focus. Can you sit and shut your eyes for a minute without your mind wandering off? And when it wanders off, you bring it back and just focus on your breath or focus on, your hands or something. Can you then build that up gradually to be able to do that for 15, 20 minutes? And it's hard, but the more we do that, world class, world champion training camp, is we build that muscle in our head. It is like going to the gym. We don't go to the gym and lift styrofoam weights. We go to the gym and we do stuff that's hard because it builds our muscle. That muscle in our head, teaching it to focus when we are so bombarded, push notifications and, things bing bonging at us all day long, that we can get distracted really, really quickly, faster than we ever could before. So how can we keep that intensity of focus and do that consistently? So can we build to do 3 sets of 90 minutes a day? And when we do this, it leads to great things. We get so much more done than you ever would imagine if you can find the time to focus and give it intensity and consistently do that. So big idea number 7 is all about the disciplines of execution. So this comes from the Stephen Covey stable, written by his son Sean Covey and a couple of other amazing guys who worked with, for years and years and years, thousands and thousands of organisations, massive conglomerates and small companies. And this approach works regardless of the size of your business, whether it's just you, there's a couple of you, or there's a whole team of you. The 4 disciplines of execution, 4DX. And within that, we have lead versus lag goals and measures, and then we have 2 scorecards. If you can nut everything down to this, again, it makes life so simple. I've been working with a big client. They've got 45 staff. They're £4.5 million turnover. And just putting this in for a year has improved their results from 50 or 60% to over 75%, okay, on all their numbers. Massive change around by getting the senior leaders and the business owner and all the team focused in this way. So first of all, it's your wildly important goal. What is your number one thing? So as I said at the beginning, if you haven't got this nutted, then anything you do is going to be even harder, because You don't know where you're going. You could end up anywhere. You could be doing a million and one things, but it's not taking you where you want to go. So get clarity, take a step back and get clarity on that. Like I said, you can go back and watch our Goals 101, Purpose 101 masterclasses to help you get focused on that. And then once you've got that, you almost need to simultaneously let go of that, because it is what you call a lag measure. So no matter what you do, you're not going to know if you achieve it. So if your goal is, I don't know, to turn over £500,000 in the next year, then you are not going to know until a year's time, did you do that? And when you get there and you haven't, it's too late. There's nothing you can do about it. So what we want to have is a sense of what our lead measures are. And our lead measures are things that we are going to pitch up and do every single day or every single week, and measure every single week or month, that actually are a predictor of us achieving that goal. Okay. So if it is, we'll talk about, a financial goal. If your goal is to hit a certain financial goal, then you know that, worst case, you need to break that down into monthly or weekly goals. Best case, let's get that down into daily goals. And what are the things that you actually need to do every day to get that money in? You need to be selling, you need to be making connections, you need to be creating leads, you need to be actually putting an offer out there, because no one, and this is a big mistake we see a lot of businesses make, they go, we've got no sales, and we go, well, what's your offer? Where is it? No one's seeing it. They can't buy from you if you don't tell us what it is. And a lot of us, get concerned about putting an offer out there and being too salesy or cheesy, or, well, you ain't going to make sales unless you become salesy. So we've got a sense of what that big important goal is. And then we have to create the lead measure. So what are the things that we're going to do and measure? What gets measured gets done. That is going to be a predictor of us achieving that goal, and that we can tell every week or every day, are we going in the right direction? And if not, we can do something about it. And then we want to have a scorecard that keeps track of our success. We need to track the lead measures. So I have a scorecard, okay? So this is my scorecard. It looks a bit fuzzy. But across the top, my leads, my goal is up there. I'm really clear on what that is. But in order to achieve, let's say, my financial goals, I do 4 posts a day. I do a weekly moment. You're sitting in it now. I do a podcast. I do a newsletter that goes out on LinkedIn. I create a new email list, and I send cold emails out. I send a sequence out to those cold emails every week. I make 10 new connections a day, or I don't. Tyee does it for me. Tyee's on here now. I get into 5 groups where my ideal client are, and I talk to them. I do 20 DMs a day. Okay. If I don't do those things, I can absolutely guarantee you I won't be making any sales. So what are those things for you on your way to your wildly important goal? All right. And then the thing is, it's about being consistent and consistently accountable. So your scorecard, your accountability, who are you sharing that with? I've got a coach. My coach asks me for these numbers every month. And if he doesn't see that they've moved, then he knows I haven't done what I said I was going to do. Like, how are you keeping accountable? If you've got a team around you, you can do this once a week, half an hour, come in with your scorecards. Have you done what you said you're going to do? Look at your lead measures. Are you where you should be? If not, what do you need to do about it? What's your commitment? What's your accountability to change that up for next week? And that's what is really important. So the idea is that we have 2 scorecards, okay? So you've got one for your wildly important goal. And you're going to tick off your the direction of travel to that every single week or month. but we're not focusing on that goal. We have to let go of it and focus on the lead measures where we're going to keep score as well. So this comes from the work of a guy called Lanny Basham. He's written a book called With Winning in Mind, and he works with sports people. And he was working with this golfer who used to be really great, but was just actually lost it. And his whole focus was, I want to win the American Open. I want to win the American Open. And Lanny started working with him and said, this is great. That is your lag measure. But unless we actually put into place some lead measures, some things that we're going to focus on and only focus on them things, then you're never going to win the golf championship. So every day he goes into training and they look at the lead measures, you know, like how is he standing? How is he hitting the ball? What's the process of getting his mindset right? Every time he gets to a new hole, what does he do? And the real basics, the real fundamentals. And that's what he measured. That's what he worked on. That's what he practiced, like world champion training camp. That's what he practiced. He pitches up at the American Open. Got all his friends and family there, and every hole he gets to, he focuses on his fundamentals, the lead measures, nothing else. He gets to the last hole, does his putt, it goes in, and everyone comes running onto the pitch. It's not a pitch, onto the course, and hugs him. His wife's kissing him, and he said, "Did I win?" And that is the difference, you know, if you focus on those fundamentals, those lead measures, you will win. But if you focus on the goal itself and don't put in place these individual things that you're going to do, the productivity things, productivity wins the day. The little things that you do every day build to achieving that big goal. And you want to be able to get to the end of the year and look at that big goal and go, did I win? Not, did I get there and have no idea, you know? So it's the little things that you do every day. And it's these lead measures, not the lag measures. So again, sort of it sort of continues towards this, is the progress principle. Micro wins and keystone checklists. So this comes from the work of Harvard Business School. Teresa Amabile, her name is. And you can't read any book on productivity, on creativity, on happiness at work, and, you know, actually feeling fulfillment at work without coming across her name or her research. And basically, she went across 1,200 organisations and looked at the diaries of thousands of people and looked at what it was that actually were making those people that were really productive. And it was a key difference, and it was the power of progress and small wins. So it was those people that created progress every day with little micro wins that were the most productive and did the most things. But the key thing was progress towards a goal that was relevant and meaningful to them. So there's no point in just having a goal. Now, I did mention money, but like quite often we can have a money goal, and it's actually, it doesn't motivate us. It doesn't make us feel like we're doing something meaningful. So, you know, my goal is more focused on how can I serve 1 million people to start and grow and create a business that creates the life that they want to achieve. That for me is very meaningful. The fallout of that is hopefully money, okay? But that's not what motivates me. So the small micro wins that I make every day are really important because it means I'm working towards serving those people. You know, I'm here today serving people, and whether that's 1 or 100 or, you know, whatever number in between, I'm going to pitch up and do my best to do that. And I do the little things that are going to help me get there. So that's the number one thing. The other thing is about having a keystone checklist. So what are the key things that need to happen. So it's very similar to my, goal, my scorecard. The keystone things that I need to do every day to make sure I have a good day. And on the way, I can check off all those things, make those micro wins. So I've said to you, for me, it's like sleep, it's meditation, it's eating the right things. It's, real keystones. Like without them, the rest of the stuff doesn't happen. The rest of the structure falls down and I have a crap day or a series of crap days. And then it's a checklist to go through them. So on my mobile, I do actually have a checklist and I go through it every morning of what are those things that I am going to do every day. And I go in and I look at them and then I tick them off. So I don't know if you can see this. So I've got this, and this is like one of my areas that I work on, and there's a list of things that I do, and I literally swipe them off. Or you could have them written down on a piece of paper or a board. How do you check them off? And the power of the checklist is absolutely enormous. So this again come from Harvard, but it was a professor who was a world-class surgeon, and he trained world-class surgeons. And he was looking at, well, actually, how do I make someone who's already world-class better? And it wasn't going to be more training because they've already done tons and tons of training. And what he realised, it was about having this keystone checklist. And believe it or not, they tested this with surgeons in hospitals, where they go in and they go, so the keystone of any surgery is, one, have I scrubbed in properly? Two, have I checked in with my team that are around the table with me, that we know who the patient is and what operation we're doing? And it sounds really basic, but like, what operation are we doing? Like, which toe are we going to amputate? And then checking in with the patient, who are you? What are you here for? And which toe are we going to amputate? And that checklist alone led to 47% less mortality, 47% less deaths by doing a keystone checklist. That petrifies the bloody life out of me. But I actually know someone, which is why I said, which toe are we going to cut off, that went into hospital and had the wrong toe cut off her foot. The wrong foot. Yeah. And so they obviously didn't have a keystone checklist, and luckily she didn't die from that, but it wasn't pleasant. So yeah, so what are the tasks, those key tasks that you need to do every day that are predictive of where you need to go, and put them on a checklist? What are the keystone things? Because if you do those every day, I guarantee you have better days, you feel better, you achieve your targets much better. I'm not saying that this isn't hard work. If we're going after great things, it's hard work. But if you have those things, then this big idea number 9 is not going to be what gets in your way, but it is what gets in your way. It's the whirlwind of gnats, kryptonite, dust, and iPhones, or other phones are available. It's like, how do we remove those things that actually just get in our way, that actually take away our focus, take away our ability to focus? There's been loads of research done on the iPhone effect. Just having an iPhone, and I did have mine here just to show you my checklist, but just having an iPhone in sight, even though it's not yours, reduces your ability to concentrate by about 50%. I mean, that is just mad. So when you're focusing on your core activity, switch it off, put it on airplane mode and bung it in a cupboard, out of sight. And even if it's not your iPhone, they've proved that having an iPhone in a room, even not on the desk while you're having a meeting, takes away the ability to concentrate, because we're all sitting there waiting for that next bing, wondering what that next message is, wondering what we're missing out on Facebook or whatever. How do you get rid of that? And the research says that by turning off notifications on your phone and your computer brings you back a whole month's work in a year. What could you do with 13 months? I could do a lot with an extra month. And I'm not saying I'm perfect. I have to remind myself of this. Yeah, every time I deliver it, okay? Removing those insignificant things that hold you back. So I said we need a sword to fight the big barriers when we're going after something big. But actually, it isn't necessarily the big things that we have to fight. Yes, they're going, big things happen when you're doing big things. But it's the small things, it's the paper cuts, it's the stuff that just like are really annoying, get in your way, reduce your powers. And I say the reducing your powers because it's like kryptonite. Superman knew that kryptonite made his powers go down, but he saw a great big honking lump of kryptonite, and he could see that was what was reducing his power. But we have things that are like dust, kryptonite dust, that they're all over the place, and it reduces our power. We don't even recognize that that's what it's doing. So what is that from you? What are those little annoying gnat-like things, kryptonite dust things, the stuff stuck in the whirlwind around your day that's actually stopping you from getting down to working on those lead measures and achieving your wildly important goal? So yeah, the iPhone effect, let's get rid of that. So if any of this is resonating and you really would like to have a one-to-one with me and Ian and help you to really focus on this and get some of this stuff out of your way once and for all, then we do have our free health check. You can book that. The link will all be going in the chat if you want to book that. We have very few spots every week, but please do book one of those in. And sort of finally, a big idea number 10 is about emotional stamina. Now, we covered this a couple of weeks ago in Anti-Fragile, but again, I repeat myself for a reason. It's really important. It's like, how do we stay in the game? Because we will get knocked down. We will need to get up again and again and again and again. But we don't want to make that making us fragile. We want to make it so that every time we get knocked down, we actually get stronger. Obstacles make me stronger. Okay, so how do we do that? And it's through grit. We have to, first thing is parts of grit are, we have to have the hope that there's a better future, whatever that looks like for you. But then we have to have, a goal and a plan to get there. And then we need to think about, how do we get into flow? Now, getting into flow means that we focus on what's important now and we just get on with it. We can focus. The intensity of focus is really high and the consistency of that focus is really high as well. And if we can get 4% better every day or every week, that is massive compound effect on that. So what is it that you can do to get 4% or 1% better today? And then that becomes super growth you, super productive you. Having a growth mindset, if something's not working now, it's not working yet. What do I need to do to fix it? Rather than allowing that to send me into a tailspin and get me back in the whirlwind, and it means I'm not doing those important things every day. I'm moaning and groaning and woe is me, and moaning about everything outside my control that I can't control, rather than doing what it is that I need to do to crack on and do what it is that is in my control. And having relentless, this is another Phil Stutz-ism, is relentless forward motion. So no matter what happens, we get up, it's going to make us stronger, but we move forward. We don't look back, we don't moan, we don't groan, we move forward. Relentless forward motion. So what is that for you? What does that look like for you? And have we got anything in the chat? Have you any questions you want to ask or put in the chat, you can do, or just come on. Oh geez, I'm trying to get in the chat and it won't let me get there. There we are. Nothing in the chat. Right. Okay. So what is, oh yeah, Pam, strict routine, wake up early, make the most of the time, do health things, get dressed, paperwork, write masterclasses and workshops for 5 hours, allow 2 weeks to write, and then use those 5 hours for the next week to film them. Yep, brilliant. And what do you do when you're off? Okay, so remembering to, we've got to recover. Yeah, actually, I like that, Pan. Text and call and phone. So that you can do, you know, like you haven't got the PC in your face all the time. That's really good, yeah. And sleep when you're off. Yeah. I like a napitation. It's a cross between a nap and a meditation. And if you can do like that for 10 minutes, which is why, you know, actually living in Spain, the siesta, which stands for the 6 hour after waking up, is a great time to like have a napitation or go for a walk, just like get off. You know, and they still do that in Spain. They still shut their shops for a long lunch that, you know, and they come back in the evenings. And I know that's a lot around the heat of the sun and everything, but it's so good for you. So what could you be doing? What one thing could you be doing? Any questions? If not, we can, yeah, let me know what's gone well today. What are you going to do as a result? What are you going to put into action?
I think, can I just say it rather than write it? Or do you want
it?
Yeah. I really think it's just that thing about managing the distractions. Like I really get that. And also about, I really took away when you're just focusing on the goal, like the website things just become something I'm avoiding because it's just like, and I'm allowing all the other work to get in. So it's just that thing of, like not just focusing on the goal, like just the steps to get there rather than that, because it's becoming a bit joyless, if you know what I mean. So
yeah. It's really hard because it can start to overwhelm us. If we've got a stretching, you know, meaningful, purposeful goal, then actually it can overwhelm us, and you can think, well, I'm not getting there, and then you're not getting there, and you're not getting there because you're not doing what you need to do. You know, and I've got very similar thing. I'm supposed to be doing something that actually is due in by the 13th of March, and I've known that since December. And I created a pile with all the things that need to be done in it, and I just keep looking at the pile and thinking, oh my God. And so I know it's kind of eat that frog, isn't it? You need to just get on and do it. And just set yourself like 20 minutes to work on the website or whatever time every day. Just do a little bit at a time. And you'll probably find you get really into it, and then you enjoy it, and then you get a lot more done.
No, definitely.
Brilliant. Well, thank you for joining us again today. Next week, I think we are all about, it's another finance one, but hopefully we can make it fun, not boring finance, but taking the stress out of finance. And giving you some really good tools for that, and thinking that there's one in there called the Magic Profit Formula, which is great, and I love it. So yeah, look forward to seeing you next week. Just an advance warning, our session on the 20th of March is actually moving to the 21st, so from Thursday to Friday. Again, because I'm in Manchester delivering a program, so I won't be able to get on early. But yeah, look forward to seeing you. Have an amazing rest of the week. It actually feels like a Friday for me today because I'm out tonight at a charity do. So I feel like that should be a Friday thing, but yeah. So yeah, I'll have to remember to get up in the morning and go to work. All right then, everyone, have a
Okay.
great one. Speak to
Thanks,
you soon.
Tony.
Take
Thank you.
care.